Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Salt Lake City Snowhawks expansion franchise here on Madden 25. In this episode, we're going to wrap up year 2, put a bow on it, simulate through this postseason as we see here the playoff bracket for our 2025 NFL playoffs. The Jets actually get the first round bye here in the AFC. Aaron Rodgers at like 73 overall at this point in his career. Probably going to retire, I would think, after this season, and we'll see if maybe he can ride off into the sunset to put a bow on his illustrious career. Of course, a future Hall of Famer. On the other side there in the Wildcard Round, we'll have number 2 LA Chargers against the number 7 Pittsburgh Steelers as the Steelers squeak in over the Broncos. The 3-6 matchup has the defending Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens against the number 6 Kansas City Chiefs, a very good one in that matchup. Then we have the AFC South winning Houston Texans against the number 5 Buffalo Bills. Going over to the NFC, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. They fell against Seattle last year in last year's NFC Championship. So Seattle went from the Super Bowl last year and now the number 1 overall pick in this year's NFL draft. So the Eagles get the bye. Then we have 2-7 there, San Fran against Detroit in the 3-6 matchup. An NFC North battle between rivals there. Minnesota won the division as they'll host Green Bay. And then the 4-5 will have New Orleans against the Dallas Cowboys. Before we get into that, though, before we start moving along here, we'll just recap our stats here for our players, see how we turned out. Lucas McDonald, of course, our franchise quarterback, a tremendous rookie season. I'm sure, he's on pace to get Offensive Rookie of the Year here momentarily in this episode, up to 82 overall at Scrambler, 90 throw power, very good accuracy ratings, all, there in the low to mid 80s with the throw on run, under pressure, and break sack there at least 85 or better. 93 speed, so I think he's actually faster than most running backs we have on the team, that X factor. So we have secured our franchise quarterback here in this franchise, and that's going to bode well for us into this pending offseason as we have picks 11 and 12. Of course, we traded down last year to get McDonald at 23rd overall, jumped all the way down the board from number 4, and we acquired Tampa Bay's first round pick this season. Trey Benson, his second year, not the best, but we're not the most run-heavy offense. He ends up at just under 600 yards with 9 touchdowns, 3.2 yards per carry. Not the best, but I think after we bolster our offensive line this offseason, that number will go up. Maybe we even bring in another back. Who knows what happens? McDonald, over 500 rushing yards, 6 touchdown runs, 6.3 yards per carry. If you followed the season, you saw he was able to break out for a bunch of scrambles. And while, he was very solid with his arm, his running game just adds a whole other dimension to the offense. And really nothing after that, just, a one-back system for the most part. Eckler had some touches there down the stretch, 3 rushing touchdowns for him. Blasting game had 2. And then we'll go over to receiving. Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, finished top 10, I believe, in receiving yards at 1,166, 90 catches, far and away our leader there. 6 touchdown catches did lead the team as well. Kadarius Toney, we're going to try and re-sign him. Hopefully we can add another weapon for our receiving core, but either way, Toney can be our number 2 or number 3 option if we do bring in an upgrade there. 52 catches for him, over 700 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jahan Dotson, 50 catches for 540, 2 touchdowns. He has no interest in re-signing, so Dotson probably will just hit the free agent market. Mo Ali Cox, 52 catches for him, tied for second on the team with Toney, but only 436 yards, 8.4 per catch with 3 touchdowns. Eckler had a huge impact in the passing game, especially towards the end of the season, 27 catches for 260. Tip Ryman also had a huge impact down the stretch. We had him out there in the final few weeks in place of Mo Ali Cox, and Ryman finishes with 29 catches, 238, and 2 touchdown catches. Trey Benson, 23 catches for him at 118. Blocking will just sort by downs, and Cade Mays did play the most downs at 956. Our center signed him as a free agent. Only 3 sacks allowed, pretty good number there. Isaiah Adams, we really have to make a decision on him, the second-year left guard. 6 sacks allowed in 946 snaps. Not the worst by any stretch, but definitely a spot we can maybe upgrade at just 72 overall. Maybe want to have him as a swing guard, swing interior lineman, as a backup there if we can get an upgrade this offseason. Got to go back to sort here. Jonah Williams is coming off a expiring contract, and he does kind of want a lot of money, I think up into the $10 to $12 million range. So I think we're better off maybe looking at another option to upgrade. We did draft him in a dispersal draft as outlined in, I believe, episode 1, if not maybe that expansion tutorial episode I did on the channel. But Williams has been solid for us at right tackle, but still, not the best numbers overall there. Pretty well balanced across the board, but again, kind of like Adams, we really just want to focus on upgrading our offensive line. We even could go with both of those first-round picks. We could go maybe tackle, guard. There's a very good guard at the top of the board and a couple tackles up there as well. Brady Christensen, not a good season from him at left tackle. 935 downs played, with 10 sacks allowed, which led the team signed him to a 2-year deal, kind of just a stopgap here at left tackle. Again, a spot we're going to look to upgrade in the draft. 88 strength with that good power archetype, but really everything else there just in the low 70s. So, borderline starter there at left tackle, hopefully a spot we can upgrade. So realistically, we're going to try and upgrade 2-3 spots on our offensive line. And then we get down here to Randy Samuels, the rookie out of South Carolina, 3rd-round pick. Only 2 sacks allowed on the season, and he did come back with that star development. So he's probably the only long-term starter we have on our offensive line. We'll see how Cade Mays develops, but even center might be a spot we look to upgrade. But 91 strength here for Randy Samuels. Definitely more of a pass blocker, agile archetype with that run block power and pass block power there in the 60s. So definitely have to upgrade that along with the run blocking. Really have to help out Trey Benson. But as Randy Samuels develops as a run blocker, as we upgrade the offensive line, I think our running backs are going to start seeing a lot more success. Now for defense, Jack Gibbens, now a captain on our defense, free agent signing, 122 tackles, 10 for loss, a sack, 2 interceptions, 4 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. Tremendous season for him as our middle linebacker at 6'3", 242. He certainly has a spot locked up in our starting linebacking core for next season. But Max Melton at 81 tackles, you definitely don't want your corners here having that many tackles. I don't know what that says about our team, but I noticed, going down the board here offline, I noticed that the tackle numbers here are very high. So I don't know if that's just, with that added 17th game now in the NFL, or if it's just our simming or what, but I feel like these tackle numbers are very, very high. So let me know what you think about that. Melton and Torrance, the rookie there from Auburn, both with 81. Torrance was our 2nd-round pick, came back with superstar abilities at an 81 run support safety right now, but gonna maybe try and get that hybrid up a little bit more, round out that skill set, get that man coverage up, that block shed up. But you like the 77 zone, 85 hit power, 81 tackle, 80 pursuit, and a decent athlete as well. Very close to an upgrade. And then we have Micah McFadden, who actually did upgrade to a star development during the season. We signed him right before the season started. He was cut from the Giants and then just turned in a tremendous year with us. Alongside there, Jack Gibbens, headlining our linebacking core, 76 tackles, 9 for loss, 3 sacks, 5 pass deflections. And as I said, he did go up to his star development. He had that breakout scenario earlier in the year, and he is on an expiring contract, and he does want, upwards of $10 million. So as good of a story he was for us, and we do have all the cap room in the world, but I think we can maybe get an upgrade at that spot. What was he just at, 78 overall or so, 78 overall. So we'll see what he's demanding. We'll work with him, but if there's someone better there on the market, we might just have to chase an upgrade at linebacker, because as good as Gibbons has been, he's not like a game breaker or anything like that. And I know he was super productive, but you just kind of want someone like a Levante David, a Thomas Davis, someone who's just has that athletic profile and just makes a difference there, disrupts the game. As Gibbons, not the best athlete, but certainly has the skill set and the football IQ to succeed on our defense. Going down, Jalen Thompson, we drafted him in the dispersal draft. He's on an expiring contract. Going to try and bring him back. 73 tackles, 2 for loss, 2 interceptions, 5 deflections, a forced fumble. Avonte Maddox up here at 72 tackles, 65 for Elijah Jones. These are our 2nd and 3rd corners, and they have over 60 tackles. I don't know if that's what you want. Darius Robinson led our team with 9 sacks. He had 50 tackles. Dak Kitchens, going back to last episode, I think it was, Dak Kitchens, a tremendous game there. Had a sack, a tackle for loss, a interception, some good returns on special teams. So Dak Kitchens, a 3rd-round pick, blossoming into an impact player for us, definitely a contributor. Just sort by tackles for loss. Now 15 for Dietrich Wise Jr. Signed him prior to the year 1 season, was cut after the preseason from New England, and he's been a solid player for us. Might bring him back maybe on a 1-year deal. Xavier Thomas and Caleb Patton up here, each with 11. Caleb Patton, the rookie out of San Diego State. So we've gotten very good contributions from our rookies, specifically our top 5 there with McDonald, Torrance there in the 1st and 2nd rounds respectively. And then Samuels, Patton, and Kitchens, I think, were all 3rd or 4th round picks, and they all had tremendous seasons. 6 sacks for Patton, in more of a reserve role, but he came alive there at the end of the season. 10 for loss here for Gibbons, Robinson, 9 for McFadden, 5 for Dak Kitchens. And he had a sack and 2 interceptions as well, 6 pass deflections. So he's really making a name for himself in this franchise. Definitely going to have him up the depth chart next year. 4 for Isaiah Simmons, 3 for Bobby Brown III, who we did sign to a 2 or 3 year deal. Really wasn't an impact guy for us. And now it's sacks Robinson with 9. Didn't expect him to lead the way. The 2nd year 1st round pick, as we did inherit him, and along with Marvin Harrison Jr. and that inaugural draft class that we got from the Cardinals. So 87 strength for Robinson, 81 block shed, and a well-rounded pass rusher as well with 82 power, 77 finesse move. So I think Robinson and Patton, 2 guys in the middle that are probably here for the long term. So not necessarily a position we need to look at, but who knows? We'll obviously, entertain the best player available in the draft, or maybe even at free agency if someone with superstar abilities perhaps, presents himself. Interception, Max Melton, a tremendous second year for him. Led our team with 4 interceptions, up to 79 overall, 93 speed, 80 man, 77 zone, and very good athletics across the board as well. So I think Melton, definitely, a cornerback 2, maybe a cornerback 3, but we need to bring in a lockdown guy. With one of our first round picks, I'm hoping that the top corner in the draft, I believe Chris Whitworth, hoping he falls to us. But if not, there are some other good options, in the second round, late first round or so. 2 interceptions here. We have 4 players: Gibbons, Thompson, Maddox, Kitchens. And then Isaiah Simmons had 1. Pass deflections. Dak Kitchens led the team with 6. 5 for Thompson, McFadden. 4 for Melton, Gibbons, Jones. And then 3 here for Simmons, Torrance. Jamal Adams with 2. Kind of forgot he was on this team. Forced fumbles. Only 3 on the year. Thompson, Gibbons, Wise Jr., and a safeties. And we did have 1, Darius Robinson. And defensive touchdowns, Max Melton, I believe that was in a live looking. Darrell Taylor blocked a field goal. It looks like kicking. So Blankenship was 20 out of 25, not the worst. Along with 50, had 2 field goals blocked, and he was 100% there from extra points. So 11 for 12, up to 49, pretty solid there. And then 1 for 4 beyond 50. So, not the worst season. He was solid last year too, but I think we'll look to bring in a competitor there, for our kicker spot. Matt Ariza, a tremendous season. Brought him in as a free agent. 50.3 average, 47.2 net yardage. That is absolutely absurd. With 16 in the 20, 11 touchbacks, none blocked. Kick returns, Kavontae Turpin led the way. Dak Kitchens also had a little impact there, and he had some punt returns as well. So, now that we've covered our bases, I think we'll go ahead and simulate here through this postseason and see what we get. Again, we'll take one more look at the bracket just as a refresher. We got the Chargers, Steelers this week, Ravens, Chiefs, Texans, Bills, 49ers, Lions, Vikings, Packers, and Saints, Cowboys. And as I said last year, the Baltimore Ravens were Super Bowl champions against the Seattle Seahawks. So now advancing through the wildcard week. And we'll take another look at the bracket, see how it worked out. So the Steelers take down the number 2 LA Chargers. I feel like going back to, like the 2000s, they had a lot of good bouts there in the playoffs when it was Phillip Rivers against Big Ben. So it's going to be Steelers-Jets there in the divisional round. And then the Chiefs absolutely manhandle the defending champion Baltimore Ravens 42-24, and the Bills take down the Texans by a touchdown. So we'll have the Jets Steelers in a 1-7, and the Bills Chiefs there in a 5-6. So you got to think whoever wins this Bills Chiefs matchup is probably going to advance to the Super Bowl, but who knows? Over in the NFC, the Lions are going to have a matchup there against the 1 seed in the Philadelphia Eagles after they upset San Francisco 21-13. The Packers make a statement there in Minnesota, winning 42-14. That's got to be a worse loss for the Vikings than that 38-7 matchup against the Eagles a few years back there in that NFC Championship. And then the Cowboys advance as well as they take down the Saints by a field goal there, 30-27. So here in the NFC, it's going to be Eagles, Lions, Cowboys, Packers. So we could potentially have an Eagles-Cowboys NFC Championship. And as we said, Jets, Steelers, and Bills, Chiefs. So I think we'll just go ahead. I don't think there's any news really that we have to look over. Although you see there at the top, Matthew Berry says Travis Gordon and Antonio Montgomery could both be star halfbacks. But if I had to choose, I'd take Gordon. I always love looking at the draft stories here. Also, you see there, Sean McVay got fired from the Rams. Mike McDonald got fired from the Seahawks. Dave Canellis got fired from the Panthers. And Shane Steichen got fired from the Colts. So a bunch of firings here. And we'll see how this coach carousel goes. But let's take a look at those running backs. Like I said, probably, not really in the market for a running back. But if we can get maybe a late round gem, I think that's certainly something we'll explore. So they have Gordon here, Travis Gordon out of Auburn, around 1 to 2 guys. So probably not someone we're going to pursue, just too early for us. Athletically, it looks like he has great to good agility, change of direction, and speed. So it looks to be a decent elusive back, I think it said he was, with beat carrying. But we haven't really poured any scouting into running backs at this point. Although we do have a few guys down here. Paul Wesley from Georgetown, he was the FCS Player of the Year. And then Sean James, he had a draft story on him earlier in the season, elusive back out of Hawaii. But the athletics weren't anything great. We have Dalton Medlock here from Syracuse on our watch list, along with Matt Virgil here from Baylor, potential undrafted free agent. But the other guy there in that draft story, I think, was Antonio Montgomery here from Princeton. 5'11", 230 power back, elite figure 8 strength, but really nothing of note athletically otherwise, with F juke, B carrying, C spin. So I don't really see anything special here from Montgomery. unless he just tests a lot better than projected. So I don't think either of those backs really players we're going to monitor. I thought maybe they would be later round guys, but that is not the case. So again, we'll simulate into the divisional round, into the NFC and AFC Championship round, the championship weekend, and we will take a look at the results here. The Jets are going to advance. They win 20-10, and the Chiefs again handle their opponent there, taking down, probably the top two teams despite the seedings there in Baltimore and then Buffalo. So we're going to have Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers in the AFC Championship. And then going over to the NFC, we have the Lions absolutely slaughter the Eagles 49-21. And the Cowboys take care of business there 28-21 against the Packers. The Lions there 49-21. What a bad defeat there for the Eagles. So in the NFC, it's going to be 5-7 there in Dallas against Detroit. And then in the AFC, 1-6 there in the Jets versus the Chiefs. We now have a look at our Pro Bowl roster. Jalen Hurts there, quarterback 1 for the NFC. Josh Allen there for the AFC at 98 overall. Lamar Jackson there at 99 overall. Brock Purdy, Jordan Love there for the NFC. Justin Herbert also makes it for the AFC. Running backs, we have McCaffrey, Najee Harris. I think Harris led the NFL in rushing there with Pittsburgh. Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon at fullback. Kyle Juszczyk, Gilliam there for the AFC. At receiver, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown now at to a 99 overall. Michael Wilson there for the Panthers at 82 overall. The wide receiver 3 for the NFC. He was drafted by the Panthers in our dispersal draft, so good to see him having some success there. And then Chris Olave, the wide receiver 4. Now over to the AFC, Jamar Chase at a 99 overall, the wide receiver 1. Lad McConkey, Khalil Shakir, Josh Downs, he's been tearing it up in this franchise. At tight end, we have George Kittle and Mark Andrews as the top guys. Then in the NFC, Dallas Goedert, AFC, Dalton Kincaid. On the offensive line, Darisaw, Tristan Wirfs. For the AFC, we have Slater and Tunsil. Landon Dickerson, Damian Lewis for the NFC left guards. Quentin Nelson, Buckley. I think Buckley a rookie there for the AFC, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure where he went, but obviously a very good draft pick, getting an all-pro rookie there on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow, Tyler Linderbaum, the top centers in respective conferences with Graham Barton and Tittman there, the backups. Chris Lindstrom, Sam Cosmi, the right guards for the NFC. Elijah Vera Tucker, Quinn Miners there for the AFC. Lane Johnson, Penei Sewell, and Brown there at right tackle for the AFC. Now on to defense. Jalen Carter, Derek Brown, Zadarius Smith there on the NFC. At DN now for the AFC, Christian Wilkins, Madubuike there from Baltimore, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson at D-tackle, Vita Vea, Deron Payne, Darius Robinson there for our Snowhawks. So we have our first Pro Bowler in this series. Darius Robinson makes it there. Top 3 D-tackle in the conference. For the AFC, it's DeForest Buckner, Quinnen Williams, Ed Oliver. At linebackers, we have Zaven Collins, who was the dispersal draft pick for the Chicago Bears, as he's having some success there. So we saw Collins and Michael Wilson, both players, distributed from our original Cardinals roster when we gutted it and made our expansion team. They go on to have tremendous seasons. TJ Watt, Max Crosby in the AFC, Andrew Van Ginkel for the NFC, I think a pending free agent. Henry 2020 was traded to Washington from Houston, and he makes the Pro Bowl there for middle linebacker. CJ Mosley for the AFC, along there with Roquan Smith. And I think that's Deion Jones, middle linebacker too, if I'm not mistaken. So a nice late career resurgence from him. I think he was a free agent. Not sure where he's at now. Braylon Trice with Diaby there at right outside linebacker for the AFC. It's Alex Highsmith and then Jeremiah Owosu for corners. Jair Alexander, J.C. Horn, Quentin Mitchell, Byron Murphy. For the AFC, we got Sauce Gardner, Kenny Moore II, Mike Hilton, Denzel Ward. Now at safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., Cam Bynum, Hafanga. I think that's DJ Porter, another rookie there at strong safety 2 for the NFC. I think he might have went to the Saints, if I'm not mistaken. For the AFC safeties, Javon Holland, Jabril Peppers, Chuck Clark, Tyler Rapp, Bates, a kicker for the NFC, which we did have him on our roster. I think in year 1, I think we did have Bates, but we just elected to go with Blankenship as they battled it out. McPherson there for the AFC. Punters are Mann and Ward. Then returners, we got Rondale Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Devin Duvernay, and Rashawn Alley, another rookie there, punt returner for the AFC. And now we get our first look here at Super Bowl 60. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Dallas Cowboys as the Chiefs take down the Jets. They won every matchup by at least 2 possessions. The Cowboys just narrowly take down the Lions, probably the lowest scoring game of this postseason, as they beat Detroit 14-9. So the Cowboys, first Super Bowl appearance since the 90s, maybe even the 80s. I can't really backtrack that one that far, but the Chiefs looking, for another one. They missed out last year as the Ravens took it, but still the Chiefs can make it 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. We've now advanced through Pro Bowl week. We are now into Super Bowl week, and the award winners on the year have been named as Josh Allen wins his first MVP award as he wins that over Mahomes. Jalen Hurts also there in the running. Coach of the year goes to Robert Saleh. What a turnaround for him, Of course, fired here in present day, but in our franchise, works it and brings the Jets to almost a Super Bowl. As Rex Ryan, of course, he brought them to back-to-back AFC Championships. Now Saleh trying to do something of his own in that nature. Now Jim Harbaugh right behind him, Sean McDermott, Kevin O'Connell, D'Amico Ryans there. And now we'll look at the NFC Offensive Player of the Year goes to Puka Nacua, Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey there, Brock Purdy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Defensive Player of the Year goes to DeMarcus Lawrence, Bobby Okereke, Zaven Collins there, Henry 2020, Jalen Carter. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Lucas McDonald. So both years in this franchise so far, we have had Offensive Rookie of the Year. Last year it was Marvin Harrison Jr. This year we have Lucas McDonald, our franchise quarterback. And it's so good, we have that position solidified with all the cap room we have, all the draft capital. We're going to go all in this offseason. Next season, hoping for a 10-win season, our first playoff appearance of this dynasty. John Herrera, I believe, was the top receiver selected from the Saints there. Finishes behind McDonald. Devontae Logan, a running back for the Cowboys. Lamar Hales, another Saints rookie. It looks like they hit on their draft class. Calvin Presley there for the Eagles. Sharif Birmingham, another running back there for the Cowboys, I believe, along with Logan. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to DeAndre Porter, another Saint here. His legacy score just under 1,000 already. Tremendous season from him, as the Saints had a few guys there, in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Kenny Widmer, corner from the Rams. Steve Goodwell, we had a game against him. He had 3 sacks against us earlier in the year. Second-round pick there out of Oklahoma for Washington. John Romero, linebacker for the Giants. Donovan Solomon, the top corner from this past draft. Looks like the Falcons have a very good combination there with Solomon and Terrell. And Caleb Patton finishes 6th here. And we also have Dak Kitchens finishing there at 9. Best quarterback goes to Jalen Hurts. And we have McDonald already on this list, finishing at number 8. I would assume, by next season he's in there in the top 5. Michael Penix Jr. here at number 5. Russell Wilson now with the Saints finishes at number 6. Best running back goes to McCaffrey. Barkley, Kamara behind him. Best wide receiver, Nacua. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Michael Wilson there at number 3 now with the Panthers, as we said. Ray McLeod, number 6 here. Rashid Shaheed with the Rams now at number 8. Jalen Tolbert. Best offensive lineman, Will Hernandez, the dispersal draft pick. So our dispersal draft picks, Hernandez to the Vikings, Michael Wilson to the Panthers, Budda Baker to the Falcons. They've all been having success. Although I think Kyler Murray with the Titans, he really hasn't been doing too hot. Look at Laken Tomlinson up here, Cooper Beebe of the Cowboys, Cesar Ruiz, Zach Martin, best D lineman, DeMarcus Lawrence. Also Defensive Player of the Year in the NFC, Jalen Carter, Vita Vea, Brandon Fisk, Derek Browns, Darius Smith, Darius Robinson up here at number 7. As he comes off a Pro Bowl appearance. Micah Parsons, best linebacker, followed by Collins, Braylon Trice there of the Falcons, Deion Jones. So Jones caught on with the Buccaneers here, and he had a little career resurgence, making the Pro Bowl, finishing top 5, best linebacker in the conference. And DeAndre Porter, the rookie here for the Saints, not only Defensive Rookie of the Year, but also the best DB. Not just the best safety, but the best DB, followed by Budda Baker, Tyler Nubin, Jair Alexander, J.C. Horn. A lot of safeties for the I guess it's kind of even. Best kicker, Brandon McManus of the Giants. I think we'll just slide down the AFC real quick. Josh Allen, Offensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett wins there on defense. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Wade Boone. He was a first-round pick of the Bengals, I believe, or second-round pick. Second was Quincy Nobles of the Browns. We had him on our board, on our watch list. He was a projected undrafted free agent. The Browns drafted him in the 6th round, and he ended up finishing like top 15 in the league in receiving. Roy McBride, the number 1 overall pick, finishes at number 3 behind a 6th-round pick, behind Wade Boone here. So McBride drafted at number 1 overall. Not the best rookie season from him, although I think he did catch a touchdown against us this past year. Emmanuel Rhodes, another receiver drafted by the Browns. Actually, I think Rhodes was the first receiver picked, not Herrera from the Saints, like I said earlier. So the Browns drafted Rhodes in the 1st round, drafted Nobles in the 6th round. Looks like they have a very good combo there. Defensive Rookie of the Year also of the Browns there, Leonard May, linebacker. Chris Gonzalez of the Patriots was their 1st-round pick. Laquan Porter, Javon Kinney, Kareem Armstead. Best quarterback, Josh Allen. Running back, Najee Harris. Wide receiver, Jamar Chase. Best OL, James Daniels of the Steelers. Myles Garrett for the Browns. Best defensive lineman, Also won Defensive Player of the Year. Max Crosby, best linebacker. Best DB goes to Sauce. Chris Boswell, the best kicker. And that's going to do it for awards. So since McDonald was named Offensive Rookie of the Year, we do have 2 more player upgrades. So I think we're just going to keep going field general. Just keep getting that accuracy up. What was his weakest link so far? I think play action at just 77. Awareness at 80. 2 spots that that it'll just naturally go up. So we'll go field general here, see how that works. And he did go up a good bit. Gets +1 there across the board. Awareness, play action, accuracy mid, and accuracy short. And we'll just go right back to it. As he's now up to like an 84, 85 overall. +2 there for deep, +2 under pressure, and +1 for mid. So now he's an 83 overall improviser scrambler with all those accuracies there in the high 80s. Awareness up 1 there to 81. Play action up to 78. So obviously a very, very good quarterback we have here on our team. And before we know it, he may be one of the better quarterbacks in the entire league. And there were a couple draft stories here. So Eric Humphrey there at the top struggled at the college all-star game, and his stock has dropped there, wide receiver. And then we have free safety Marcus Dawson is named college all-star game MVP. Dawson put on a show for scouts this weekend, improving his draft stock. And then cornerback DeAndre Weber generates a ton of buzz after college all-star game. Weber shut down every receiver he covered this week. So we'll go over and take a look at those guys. I think DeAndre Weber is someone I already do have on our watch list. I think he's projected late first round, early second round corner. So I think I did mention earlier, if we miss out on Chris Whitworth here, the top corner in the draft, I think Weber, especially based on that draft story, might not be a bad backup plan. Whitworth has the A zone, B man, and pretty good athletically as well. B tackle, C play rec, A awareness, and D press. That press, really the only weakness. And we have DeAndre Weber, the 3rd overall corner on the board. We have him just 60% scouted with B catching, B man, C to F there for press with B to D there for zone. 6'2", 203 out of Kansas with elite to great acceleration and speed. Great to good agility, change of direction, and the jumping and strength not that great. Skill so far. C there for awareness, block shed, and tackle, and play rec with the B man coverage. So hopefully that zone, that press come back, at a B or C. And if that's the case, I think Weber may be someone we target in the early second round there. We do have that early second round pick. Or maybe if we trade down from 11 or 12, maybe he's our second option there. But a good amount of, fringe first round corners at this point. I saw Nathan Scruggs had a negative story. He got hurt at the combine. B catching man and press with B to D zone. Elite to great, change of direction, great to good, acceleration, agility, jumping, good to solid speed and strength. A to C block shed, pretty much everything that's uncovered at C or B, which you like to see. But I think just based on those draft stories, Weber is someone we want to try and get if we miss out on Chris Whitworth, especially Weber. That man-to-man archetype does fit our system. And then we had Marcus Dawson here at free safety, the college all-star game MVP. Another fringe round 1 guy, 8 for hit power as a run support guy. Nothing, special athletically. Great to good strength, good to solid speed. But really nothing of note. Looks to have good traits, but really not in the market for a safety, especially a run support safety after drafting Matthew Torrance last year. Plus, we want to extend Jalen Thompson, which I think we will get to in this episode. So at this point, we will just simulate through the Super Bowl. And let's go Chiefs. You'll never catch me rooting for the Cowboys. And with that, the Kansas City Chiefs are now 4-time Super Bowl champions, making it now 3 out of 4 years for the Chiefs as they take this one 34-28. What a game here in Super Bowl 60. Heading into halftime, it was 17-14 Kansas City, and then they outscored Dallas 17-14 again there in the second half, winning by 6, 34-28. Looks like no turnovers in this game. Neither team rushed for over 100. 251 passing for the Chiefs. Red zone percentage was 100 compared to Dallas at 25%, so that was obviously the difference in this game. The Chiefs with 4 touchdowns from inside the red zone, a field goal as well, so they were cashing in, whereas Dallas only just 1 touchdown. Time of possession owned by Kansas City at 37 minutes to 22. Take a look at some stats. And Dak Prescott, what a game there. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 71%. Mahomes 251, 3 touchdowns. More than likely was the Super Bowl MVP, 85% completion. Rushing, Pacheco led with 47, but just 2.6 yards per rush. Mahomes had 36 yards on the ground. Rico Dowdle led there for Dallas. So the running game, as I've kind of stressed, not really active in these Madden sims. Devontae Logan, so I thought he was a running back, but Logan, a wide receiver here, a rookie for Dallas, led with 92 receiving yards, 2 touchdown catches for the rookie in the Super Bowl, but still his team falls short. Rashee Rice led for Kansas City at 87 yards, a touchdown. Same stat line pretty much for Worthy, just 2 yards less, both with 9 catches. Jake Ferguson, 5 for 68. Marquise Brown also had a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb just 3 for 33, a touchdown as well. Jalen Tolbert, 1 catch, was a touchdown. Only a few sacks allowed. Trey Smith, Cooper Beebe, who we saw was a Pro Bowler. TJ Bass. Now on defense, DeMarvion Overshown led with 11 tackles. Marshawn Nealand with 4 tackles for loss. What a day he had there against the run, too, there for Parsons and Lawrence. And as we said, Kansas City did own time of possession, so a lot more time there for the Dallas defense to make some plays. Larry Fowler, a rookie D tackle for the Chiefs, making an impact there with the tackle for loss. Chris Jones, Nick Bolton. Sacks, we had Chris Jones get home. Jonas Griffith for Dallas. Leo Chenal for the Chiefs, a pending free agent. No interceptions. No forced fumbles. Pass deflections, 2 there for Drew Tranquill. And field goals just Bucker, 2 for 2, 51-yard long. And here we see the 2025 season recap. The Kansas City Chiefs take down the Dallas Cowboys in this year's Super Bowl, 34-28 here in Super Bowl 60. Patrick Mahomes, the Super Bowl MVP. Although Josh Allen was the regular season MVP, as we saw. Robert Saleh, Coach of the Year. Offensive Player of the Year, Puka Nacua. Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. And then Lucas McDonald was not named Offensive Rookie of the Year just for the NFC, but league-wide, wide receiver Wade Boone won it. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to DeAndre Porter. So with that, we are now officially done with the Year 2 season. Our Snowhawks finished at 7-10. But before we close this episode, we do have a few things to get through. We have a big task list here, Mock Draft 4. We'll start by looking at that. And Byron Snow, still the first pick in every mock draft, 3, 2, 1. He was always projected to go number 1 here to Seattle. And it starts to get a little weird because Aaron McClure projected number 2 here to Jacksonville, even though the Jaguars did just lock up Trevor Lawrence long term. David Witt, another quarterback here. So the first 3 players off the board, projected quarterbacks. Witt they have out of Penn State going to the Titans. So maybe they're looking to move on from Kyler Murray. Hasn't really worked out in his 2 seasons there in Tennessee. And I have mentioned a few times, getting our franchise quarterback last year just really worked out for us, as now, we have picks 11 and 12. And with 3 quarterbacks, projected to go in those spots, it really helps us, the board fall to us a little bit as we kind of get outside the top 10. And Dimitri Dupree projected number 4 there to the Patriots. I feel like they'll elect to maybe sign a running back in free agency, which might clear that need, because I don't know about going with a power back there in the top 5. Las Vegas projected Damian Spencer, speed rusher out of California. BJ Roan to Chicago. And here's Delvin Barner, the top tackle, going to Cleveland. And at this point, we actually do have him fully scouted, and he comes back as a round 2 to 3 talent. So we are going to dive into the draft board a little bit here before we close. And we're certainly going to have to take a look at Barner, someone we were considering, with our pick there at 11 or 12. But with that round 2 to 3 talent, I'm really not sure at this point. Cade Moreland looks to be a unit at right guard, projected there number 8 to the Giants. Someone we may consider based on how he tests at the combine. Then we have a pair of receivers here, Jerry Gilmore to Washington, Pat Lewis to Miami. And then we get to our picks here at 11 and 12. They have us going Earl Riddick, who I think they did have us going with in the last mock draft. I don't think we go safety, but he does look like a good prospect. And Damon Curley, who's really rising up the board, up 28 spots, as they have us going with him at number 12. And I really do like the tight ends in this class. There's Damon Curley here out of Arizona State, and then Ben Murray out of our home state of Utah. And I mentioned a few episodes back, we are going to try and make a run at Kyle Pitts in free agency. But if we miss out on him, I think Curley or Murray would be tremendous options here in the first round. And then Chris Whitworth, their top corner in the draft, falling all the way down here to 13. And we do have him 95% scouted, and he comes back as a top 5 talent. So this kind of makes me rethink things. I don't think he falls to 13 when it's all said and done. And being, that he's going to be a lockdown corner, a stud corner in the NFL. I think that's a really hard position to solidify, especially in Madden. So I think at this point, I wouldn't mind working to trade up, maybe moving up from 11 or 12, maybe up to like 6 or 7 if he's still there when the Chicago or Cleveland goes on the board. We have 13 picks in this year's draft. A lot of those, though, on day 3. So I really think we're going to try and package a lot of those and move up the board and be a little more aggressive this year. So Chris Whitworth, a solid option in the first round, might be one of the best players of this entire draft class, obviously with that top 5 talent grade. And then we get down here to Mitch Floyd, projected number 14 to the Rams. And like Barner, these were 2 guys, the top 2 tackles in the class, 2 blue chip guys, but they both come back with those round 2 to 3 grades. So it's really going to depend how they test if we take a flyer on them at this point in the draft. I'm not sure, though. I really, don't want to take a guy in the top 15 who's not a round 1 grade at least. Although Barner, I think he has some real potential just based on his athletics, and I think he's going to test extremely well. But obviously still a far way to go. We still have the combine free agency to get through before we solidify any draft strategy. Jabari Simmons here, 15 to the Panthers. Falcons going D-tackle as well as the Broncos there, 3 in a row. J.R. Decker, speed rusher, going to the Bengals. Steve Fisher, DN, going to the Saints out there at Stanford. Christine Cameron going to the Vikings at 20. Another tackle I was considering here in the first round, but he also has that round 2 to 3 talent grade. So our scouting department has done a tremendous job scouting these offensive tackles at the top of the board. And maybe we will show some restraint based on those grades. Joey Bush, the top center, going to San Fran. D tackle to Houston. Cole Langford. We have another running back here in the first round going to Baltimore as maybe they prepare for life after Derrick Henry. Ben Murray here to the Chargers. At the tight end I mentioned, they have us going with that guy from Arizona State, but Ben Murray might be more dynamic. It's going to be really interesting to see how those top 2 tight ends test. We have 2 corners down here. Jeff Underwood out of Georgia going to Green Bay. DeAndre Weber going to Buffalo. 2 guys. If we miss out on Whitworth, 2 guys we'll certainly consider. Pittsburgh going speed rusher. Eagles going Wyatt Preston. Another tackle there with that 1 to 2 round projection, but he gets around 2 to 3 grade. Jamal Stoutmeyer to the Jets. Damon Finch to the Dallas Cowboys. And the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs going with Joseph Chaney. And now seeing as how we have some fully scouted players here. We see Chris Whitworth, top 5 talent. He's going to be a playmaker. He's going to be a shutdown corner there on the outside. Really just the press is his only blemish, I would say, there at D with the A-zone, B-man. We kind of looked at him earlier. And unless he absolutely flops at the combine, I think he's someone we got to be aggressive with. As I said, locking down a corner is so hard, especially, a true number 1. There's only so many spread out throughout the NFL, so we'll just kind of go by position. Quarterback, not really a focus for us, obviously, with our franchise quarterback lockdown. We do have a couple of day 3 guys here. Chris Woodard of Florida State, Will Mincy of Arkansas, who will just continue to monitor. Definitely want to lock up, backup quarterback at some point. Maybe not this year, but next year. I don't mind taking a quarterback in the 3rd, 4th round because if you hit on them, they have so much trade value within a few seasons at running back. Probably going to look at a day 3 guy. It really just comes down to testing. We looked at running backs a little bit earlier at wide receiver. Not really going to be a main focus for us. I feel like going the free agent route for a receiver is a lot more effective than drafting one, especially with this year's class. Just, no really complete guys, whether they have the attributes, the athletics. I guess we have Roy Towns here of Colorado, a deep threat, round 3 to 4 projection. Andrew Byron of Southern Illinois, deep threat on day 3, but really didn't throw any eggs into that basket. But now at tight end, we have a bunch of guys on our watch list here, including Ben Murray, who is rated as a top tight end over Damon Curley, although that's who they had us selecting at pick 11 or 12 there in that mock draft. But just going down the line here, it's kind of easier to compare them this way. So at awareness, we both have A at catching. Murray comes back with B. Curley is going to be at least even or better to that. He also has the A catch in traffic. Murray A to B there. For spec catch, Murray has C. Curley with a B. Short route running, Murray with B. Curley with C. Medium route running, Curley's going to be at least a B. Murray at A. He has B or C deep route, and Curley with A deep route. So you can already tell these tight ends, pretty much receivers, these tight ends, very good cannons, very good route running already with B pass block for each. Although Murray just a D for run block, Curley an A for run block. So it looks like he's a little bit more of a mauler up on the line, protecting against the pass, blocking for the run. A little reminiscent maybe of George Kittle. Although Murray does have the better impact block at C. But you get it. Very good tight ends here. I guess we'll compare their physicals as well. Both vertical threats. Murray at 6'5", 248. Curley at 6'4", 259. So even size-wise, Murray has an inch on Curley, but Curley has like 10 pounds on Murray. So just very similar guys, both at 21 years old. For acceleration, Murray has elite to great. Curley with good to solid, although he does have the better agility at elite to great, whereas Murray great to good, and he's good to solid for change of direction. Curley better at elite to great, and then jumping, good to solid for Curley, elite to great for Murray. And they're both elite to great for speed, and then Curley a little bit stronger. Murray not really a strong tight end, so it looks like Curley might be the better athlete marginally, but still both very impressive in that aspect. So as I said, if we miss out on Kyle Pitts, I think it's very practical to select one of these tight ends, as I think both are going to be very, very good. And then we have Andrew Drummond here, round 2 to 3 out of Auburn on our watch list. Damon Richter, I remember liking a lot during the season. We'll take a look at his card. 6'6", 270 out of UCLA. This dude's an extra offensive lineman out there. A catching traffic, B catching, and deep route there for the possession tight end with A run block. Not so special of an athlete, but great to good speed at 270 pounds is pretty impressive, especially there with agility, great to good as well. But the strength only solid to decent, but a pretty good profile. A awareness, catching traffic, run block. B for catching, deep route, run block, finesse. So I do like Damon Richter. If we miss out on maybe Murray or Curley early on, or even if we sign Kyle Pitts, maybe Richter there on day 3, someone we just add as another young tight end. And we have Calvin Adams here, Andy Bowden. We're not really going to look at these lower guys at this point. And now at left tackle, we have Christine Cameron, who comes back as a round 2 to 3 grade, although A, awareness, impact, and run blocking. C for pass block, 6'4", 310 out of Florida. Great to good there for most athletic categories. Good to solid for speed and strength. And decent traits across the board. A in a lot of those spots, lead block, run block finesse, and run block. B for pass block finesse, C run block power, but D pass block power. So every trait C or better. A lot of A's there as well. So Christine Cameron, pretty well rounded. I feel like these offensive tackles just tend to be a little bit lower graded because at quick glance, he looks like a first-round talent to me with those athletics and the skills that he already has unlocked. So Christine Cameron and those other tackles we'll look at here in Floyd and Barner, maybe guys we target. But look at Jamie McLean here out of Boston College. He's the only tackle with that round 1 to 2 projection that lived up to it after scouting. 6'5", 314 out of Boston College. A for awareness, impact, and pass block. C for run block, lead to great change of direction. Really nothing great athletically after that, but another very good skill profile here with the A pass block finesse, and pass block power. D for run block finesse, the only D on his skill card there. So Jamie McLean, maybe someone we target depending on how he tests, but it is encouraging to see one of these tackles live up to their projection. And down here we actually had John Childress, left tackle out of Pittsburgh. And he actually comes back as a day 3 talent despite the undrafted projection. So those are always things I look for after scouting. Love to see, those UDFAs who play into a draftable grade on the interior offensive line. Really don't have anything. Joey Bush, the top guy, you saw him projected there to San Francisco in that mock draft. Justice Core out of USC. Both of these guys had draft stories on them, so I think they're both going to be pretty good players at center. Then we have Cade Moreland, 6'2", 327 out of LSU. Of course, on that offensive line that's protecting Byron Snow, the top prospect in this year's draft. Moreland at 6'2", 327. And of course, offensive line never glamorous, in the first round, especially on the interior, but they're typically worthwhile investments. Ask the Cowboys, are they happy they selected Zach Martin? Of course they are. Are the Colts, happy they selected Quentin Nelson in the top 10? Of course they are. So I think Moreland going to be one of those guys, as he already has that A pass block, A run block, physically elite to great for acceleration, agility, and strength, and then great to good or good to solid the rest of the way. We don't really have much uncovered on him. Maybe someone we do our individual workout with at the combine. We are going to have 3 players to choose from. C, pass block power, and run block power, the blemishes for him, but very good starting points for a 21-year-old with already A run block, lead block, and pass block finesse. So I think Cade Moore, the future all-pro at right guard. And I mentioned we might even double up on offensive line if it presents itself that way, but I'm certainly not ruling out Cade Moreland. And like I said, maybe someone we focus on at the combine, just uncovering that scouting profile fully. But here's where I was really interested, as Delvin Barner and Mitch Floyd, both top 10 projected offensive tackles, but they come back with that round 2 to 3 talent grade, which kind of concerns me, especially because McLean, who we saw at left tackle, he comes back as the highest graded offensive tackle in this year's class. But I think with guys like Floyd and Barner, they're pretty much guaranteed to have that star development. Even in Barner's case, I think he might be a superstar development offensive tackle, but I'm really just basing that off intuition. I don't really have much proof, but just based on his athletic profile, which we'll look at here shortly, you might see why I think that. So going across the board, comparing kind of like we did with those tight ends, Floyd and Barner both A for awareness. Floyd the better pass blocker though with C compared to Barner, who has a D for pass block and pass block power, and also run block power as well. So Barner, he does have a lot more upside, but he also has more improvement that he needs. Not as NFL ready as Mitch Floyd is, but I think the upside with Barner is just going to be through the roof. So both A for run blocking. Again, Floyd has the upper hand here in run block power. Both A for run block finesse, lead block, and impact block. And Barner does have the better stamina and better injury, as Mitch Floyd has an F injury rating. You don't like that. Now we'll go over to physicals. Both elite to great here for acceleration, but we're just going to kind of focus on Barner. Elite to great for acceleration and agility, great to good for change of direction, great to good for jumping, and elite to great for speed, good to solid for strength, which does match Floyd. But Barner is better in every athletic category, or at least tied. They're tied there in strength and acceleration, but every other category, Barner has the upper hand with elite to great. Half of those athletic areas that you're looking at with great to good there for change of direction jumping, but the strength, you wish he was a little bit stronger, but he's going to be super athletic there at right tackle. So depending on how he tests is going to decide if we're in or out on Delvin Barner there at the top of the draft. But of course, he might not even fall to our pick. We'll see how that goes. But Barner and Mitch Floyd, definitely got to decide between them. McLean also in the mix with that round 1 to 2 grade. Morgan Lippett was projected first and second rounder, comes back with a 2 to 3 grade along there with Wyatt Preston, who we saw go to the Eagles, I believe, in that mock draft. Another guy here, Donovan Jordan from Louisville. His projection does not live up to the talent as he drops from 2 to 3 to a round 3 to 4 type prospect. As we'll now get into defense, I don't think we really focused much scouting on defense, so there might not be too much to talk about on this side of the ball. Damian Spencer and Steve Fisher look to be two good pass rushers there out of the first round. At D tackle, we did scout Chris Mack earlier in the year. Had him as around 2 to 3 projection, came back as around 3 to 4 talent, so didn't quite live up to his projection, but still not a bad prospect. I like his well-rounded skill set with the B power move, C finesse move, so he can get after the quarterback in a variety of ways, not one-dimensional there with a C block shed, good to start. Elite to great for jumping, great to good for acceleration, agility, good to solid speed and strength. And that D pursuit is pretty low, but otherwise very good traits with that A play rec, impact block. And we already said he can get off blocks, he can rush the passer a little bit, so I think he's a little bit better than what the game graded him as. But D-tackle, not necessarily a position we're going to target early on. Maybe just look for a day 3 gem, hopefully kind of cash in at that spot like we did with Caleb Patton in last year's draft at linebacker. Nothing doing. Again, I think this is a position like receiver where you're better off going at this in a free agency. But we did have a guy here at middle linebacker. So Jerry Sexton, we did scout him as well. He goes up to around 1 to 2 talent from round 3 to 4, so he jumps up a good bit. Field general at 6'3", 226 out of UW with a B block shed, tackle zone, C pursuit. Physically, great to good for acceleration, agility. Elite to great for speed, which you love at linebacker. Great to good for strength. And now at skills, A awareness, B block shed, C hit power. Going to have A to B finesse move. Just an added bonus there for a middle linebacker. Can blitz a little bit, get after the quarterback. B tackle, C man with a B zone. So very well rounded here. Fits that field general mold very, very well. There were a couple other linebackers up here, all around 3 to 4 guys. So I think all these linebackers are going to be pretty solid. Tyler Drew here, the top middle linebacker in the class. We have J.D. Ross here, a pass coverage guy, going over to right outside linebacker. Really nothing scouted here as well. Stan Snowden here out of Baylor had a draft story on him earlier in the year, along here with Dom Gilmore. And we just saw mock draft 4, but in mock draft 3, even though Dom Gilmore projected day 3 guy, the game had us going with him at number 12 for whatever reason. At corner, we talked about Chris Whitworth, the number 4 overall player on the draft board. Hopefully we can get him a top 5 graded player in this class. And we do have some quality guys down here as well. Jeff Underwood and DeAndre Weber, 2 guys that were projected to go in the first round. And I think by the combine we'll have a talent grade on them. I think they'll hit 90%. And once they hit 90%, we'll have that talent uncovered. It won't be a question mark anymore. So depending on what Weber and Underwood here come back as, we might be more inclined to go, trade up for Whitworth potentially, or maybe we'll even be happy with Underwood or Weber if they maybe match that top 5 talent grade, although I don't expect that. And then some decent guys down here, Donovan Davis of Oklahoma, Jamal Stoutmeyer out of Ohio, Nathan Scruggs we talked about, he got hurt at the combine, and Patrick Darby, all these guys round 1 to 2 projected. And then we have Nick Goddard, Texas, Jaden McLeod of Arkansas, Justin Walker, 3 guys we have watch listed. And we should have grades back on Goddard and McLeod, I believe, by the combine. At safety, we saw Marcus Dawson was the college all-star game MVP. Earl Riddick is the guy they keep projecting us to select there at 11 or 12. He was the first player with a draft story on him earlier in the year. Zone safety with B hit power, D man, B tackle. And the zone is only going to be a C2 and F. So it seems like he's more of a run support guy with the B block shed, B hit power, and pursuit. Man at D and zone going to be C to F. So I don't really think he's a great coverage guy, and he doesn't have anything spectacular athletically, so I don't know about Earl Riddick. I said he might be a good prospect, but I was just basing that off of the draft story he had on him earlier in the year. But traits-wise and athletically, doesn't really look to be anything over the top. Going to strong safety, Damon Finch, I believe we saw a draft story on him. I think he had a good all-star game as well, but safety probably not going to be a position we target, like I said, just because we already have Torrance, who's on his way to being a superstar, and we also have Jalen Thompson, who we're going to try and bring back. But just, a quick look at our draft. Let me know if any of these prospects stood out to you. Let me know what strategy you would go with. I think we might be best off trading up for Chris Whitworth and then seeing what falls into our laps. We could always trade up from one of those spots and then trade down and still end up, with 2 first-round selections. So with 2 first-round picks in this year's draft, 13 picks overall, we have tremendous flexibility. And, what happens in free agency is really going to dictate what we end up doing come draft day. We are now here into retirements as Harrison Smith does headline this list, retiring there from Minnesota spent all 14 years with the Vikings. Russell Wilson retires after just one season in New Orleans, led them to an NFC South title. Russell Wilson, I would think a future Hall of Famer, does have that Super Bowl ring, about a decade of stable quarterback play there. A former third-round pick out of NC State, or I believe Wisconsin actually, transferred to Wisconsin. And then Tyrann Mathieu, a future Hall of Famer, I would think as well. David Bakhtiari, maybe in that same breath, as he spent the last season or two there with Washington. Mitch Morse retires as a Patriot. DeAndre Hopkins retires. Spent this past season with the Lions in their playoff run. Aaron Rodgers turned in one of the best seasons here for the Jets in recent memory. And Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer, of course, retires after over 2 decades in the NFL. Thomas Morstead, Brandon Scherf, former top 10 pick out of Iowa. Laken Tomlinson, Kyle Juszczyk retires. Perhaps the best fullback over his 13 years in the NFL. Lane Johnson, Zach Martin, who we just talked about. Both of these guys, I would think, Hall of Famers. Definitely Lane Johnson and definitely Zach Martin, I would think. So I don't know. I don't know if this retirement class is really producing that many Hall of Famers. These three, I would think, certainly have a case at the top in Smith, Wilson, and Mathieu. Maybe Bakhtiari, maybe DeAndre Hopkins, definitely Rodgers, maybe Brandon Scherf, some fringe guys here. But I would think Lane Johnson and Zach Martin get in. Let me know your thoughts on who's getting in this Hall of Fame class as well. Micah Hyde, very good career for him through Green Bay and Buffalo. Eric Kendricks, Charles Leno, who spent year one in Salt Lake City with our Snowhawks. Dalvin Cook, Robert Woods, Denzel Perryman. And that pretty much does it for retirements. And then we did have some upgrades here from some practice squad players, starting here with Jaden Davis, who was a holdover from that Arizona Cardinals draft class that we inherited. 67 overall, 91 speed, 95 acceleration. The coverage ratings is both there at 68. That agility at just 79. You wish that was a little bit higher, but I think we'll just go slot for him. We do need to find a slot corner. Maybe he competes for that spot next year, but hopefully, we're a little bit better equipped. But you like how the man goes up +3, the tackle +2. Now on to Will McMahon, who was signed as an undrafted free agent. 67 overall, very respectable there. 6'5", 317 out of Wake Forest. And that pass block power at just 63 definitely needs some work. 69 pass block, so I think we'll just go pass protector here, which is only at a 57. And it doesn't raise his overall at all, but we'll take +1, I guess, across the board there. Awareness, impact, pass block, and pass block finesse. Not the best upgrade there for Will McMahon, who will more than likely be on the practice squad next season. Moro Ojomo here, who he signed as a free agent prior to this franchise, just to fill out the roster a bit. 69 block shed, 76 power move. I think we'll just go into that run stopper archetype, try and get him as a scheme fit, although it does not work out. But he does get +5 for finesse move, and then +1 for block shed. So now the finesse move all the way up to 72, very well rounded. But the block shed at 70, wish that was a little bit better. KJ Henry, who we signed prior to this franchise as well, just to fill out the roster a little bit. 85 speed there coming off the edge. You like that. 70 power move, just 66 finesse, and 61 block shed. So I think we really have to get that block shed up as we do go run stopper. And we do get just +3 for block shed. I guess better than nothing. We were kind of hoping for like +5 like we just got with that finesse move. Kyrie Cherry, another undrafted free agent we signed to the practice squad. Just 85 speed, 62 man. The pursuit and hit power already there in the mid to high 70s. So I think we just got to keep going hybrid for him. And he does go up 2 overall points, but he loses the scheme fit. But we'll take that +4 for zone, +2 play rec, +1 for man. And then lastly here we have Eric Alden, I believe. I think a 7th round pick for us, but came in at just 62 overall. So probably not going to be on the roster next year, I wouldn't think. Decent speed at 72 for a D tackle. The block shed power move there in the high 60s. So I think we'll just go run stopper here, just playing into that. Keep him as a scheme fit. As he gets 5 upgrades, +2 for play rec and power move. And we did have 80 points here to spend for our John Gruden coaching skill tree. Here under staff modifications, we're not even going to worry about that right now. Kind of useless at this point. Offensive development, I think, going into the free agency here, we got to focus more on player personnel as we have. Here for trades, we have only worked down 1. Offensive recruitment, we've worked down a good bit, but haven't doubled up on any of these. These ones would increase our likelihood of an offensive lineman, increase likelihood of a halfback signing. We don't need to worry about that or quarterback, but here we have receiver and tight end. And as I said, we are going to try and focus on getting Kyle Pitts in free agency, maybe even a receiver as well. So maybe we look to upgrade both of those spots. That would cost us 36 points collectively. which wouldn't even take up half of what we're currently working with. Feels like home scheme fits have increased interest in signing. That would be a good one. Then on defense, we already have 5% discount on 85 overall players. We could go up to the next tier and get a 90 overall discount as well, that 5%. We already have increased likelihood of D tackles, D ends, but not for safeties, which I don't mind. We don't really need that side unlocked at this point. Cornerback, I think we definitely want to invest in. Even if we are able to sign a high-level guy, that would not, deter me from still going after Chris Whitworth in the draft, getting, 2 shutdown corners, hopefully. Here we have left and right outside linebacker and middle linebacker. And then at the end, unlock 1 player in re-signing who is not interested. So this isn't interesting here. I think trades we don't really need to worry about too much. We are going to try and wheel and deal a little bit in the draft, but I'd rather focus on, player acquisition and free agency here rather than draft day trades. So offensive line we definitely should consider, but I think we will start here with tight end and try and ensure that we get Kyle Pitts in. And then we also had D tackles and D ends. Cornerbacks, we also got to get cornerbacks, so we'll do that one as well. So that leaves us with 44 points now. And I think the scheme fit would also work out as well, which would leave us with 17, which is kind of a bummer because I think all these are like 18 points, so we would come up short by just 1 for another upgrade. And the trays are the same, so I thought they might be a little bit cheaper. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I think we would stand well from getting an increased interest from scheme fits because obviously that works, every position, especially on the offensive line, receiver, tight end. So I think we'll go with that, which leaves us with 17 points. Hopefully we can get one more coaching skill point here heading into the offseason, but I don't think it really works that way. And I even was considering, firing our coordinators, but I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. I really was tempted to try and hire Sean McVay as our offensive coordinator, but instead I'll see if he catches on anywhere else. And maybe if he's still hanging around next season, maybe we'll make a run at him, bring him on staff, with John Gruden. Having both those offensive masterminds together would enhance and raise the level of this team. But as I said, I'll leave him out there, see if he signs on anywhere else. I think also Shane Steichen, Canales, as we said earlier, were also there. So we'll see if they get hired by any other team. But at this point, we're done. We're just going to go through re-signings and put a bow on this recap episode. We're now here at re-signings. We don't have many to go through. We kind of settled all this during the season. But of course, Jalen Thompson, our top priority at this phase. He wants 3 years, $20.6 million. And he does have pretty high re-sign interest at just 28 years old. We definitely want to keep him on the back end of our defense. We'll even up the numbers for him, go to 3.5, 3.8 there for the bonus, which I believe will be like $7.3 million per year. And he does sign. So we get our free safety locked down for the next 3 seasons. And at the next order of business here, Mika McFadden, you see that the re-sign interest is not high. He wants about $20 million over 3 years. And as someone who was cut before the season started there from the Giants, he really played his way up to a high value. Although he did unlock star development during the season, but now back down to normal. So that does kind of make a big difference at this point. Already at 78 overall, 26 years old. He's not really going to raise much. So I think we'll just, lower this offer, lowball him, see if that is enough to bring him back for a couple more years. Probably not going to accept this. We'll just probably go 2 years at $9 million. And he's going to test free agency. So a very good story we had there with Mika McFadden this season, but not going to come back and test the waters. Which now brings us to Jahan Dotson, and he has no interest in re-signing, so we're not even going to bother. He wants about $6 million per year, probably going to catch on somewhere else. Now, Kadarius Toney, he's actually demanding a little bit less than Dotson, so I think we will give it a shot here. We're going to up it a little bit, go 2.5 for the bonus, 3.7 for the salary, give him 12.4 over 2 at 6.2 per season, and that's exactly what he wanted. So we do bring Toney and Thompson back. We bring back our starting free safety, our number 2 option at receiver, although we're hoping to bring in a better sidekick there for Marvin Harrison Jr. And then we see here Jonah Williams at 76 overall, 28 years old, wants about $10 million per year, but no interest in re-signing, so we're just going to let him walk. We're going to see if we can upgrade his spot in free agency or maybe even the draft. As we saw, there are some tackles at the top. KJ Britt, we'll just let him walk as well. Don't really need another linebacker at this stage. Already with Jack Gibbons, we're going to see if we can get an upgrade there in free agency. Maddox going to walk Turpin. Quan Beverly was an undrafted free agent that we signed. And, he spent most of the year on the practice squad, did get some reps, but he wants like $11 million over 3 years, which is just ridiculous, for someone who was an undrafted free agent. So instead, we'll make it 2 years, just go $900K, 1.3. And, obviously a low ball from what he wants, but as an undrafted free agent, he didn't quite play himself to that big of a contract, so he's going to test the waters as well. I don't think he's going to get what he's asking for, but we shall see. Malik Willis going to walk. Darrell Taylor spent just 1 season here as a free agent sign. We'll let him walk. He wants $8 million per year. We can definitely get better value at that spot. Cox is going to walk. Tony Morrow, another undrafted guy who wants a little bit more than we were willing to pay. Kentavious Street wants 5.5 over 1 year. We'll let him walk. And Deatrice Wise Jr., who was a solid contributor for us, he wants like $6 million for 1 season, but he has undergone some regression at this point, the development down to a normal, and he has lost some skill points there in a bunch of categories. So I think we will offer him a 1-year deal, but I don't know about $6 million for him. Try and lower that a little bit, especially that guaranteed money. We'll put that at 1.8, 2.8 for the salary. So we'll go 1 year at 4.6, and he is going to test the market as well. And a bunch of guys here we already decided that we're not going to pursue, although we have Kerry Blasingame here, fullback. He actually had a pretty solid season for us. We'll just stick it there, 1 year, $3 million, and that he does sign back. So Blasingame probably going to be the fullback again, but I do like looking at undrafted guys in that spot. So $196 million in cap space at this point, which brings us to Blankenship, and he has no interest in re-signing, so we'll let him walk as well. So we're going to head into free agency with $196 million in cap space. We're going to have the 11th and 12th overall picks in the NFL draft, in addition to another 11 picks. Mostly they're on day 3, but as I said, we're going to try and package some of those later picks to move up in some spots, but we will go through some transactions as we'll take a look at the franchise tags. And this is a thing I was not even expecting or considering, but Kyle Pitts does sign a franchise tag there in Atlanta at $18.2 million. So unfortunately, our plan of going after him in free agency is not going to come to fruition, although it is reported that he's very unhappy on that franchise tag. So he wants something more long-term. So the Falcons will shop him this offseason, but I'm not sure if we're going to be wanting to give up all those resources for him, but we'll see how it goes. Williams there for the Rams also gets a franchise tag, and some other re-signings here. But this is where I'm going to leave you, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Just, a end of season recap episode. We also got a good look at this draft class and our strategy going forward. So much flexibility coming up with the 11th and 12th pick there, and nearly $200 million in cap space. So expect a big haul in the next episode as we go through this year 2 offseason. Also, Jameson Williams signs a contract extension with the Lions. I was hoping he would be available to pursue him to go along with Marvin Harrison Jr., but we have a lot of flexibility. I'm very excited for the offseason episode. Thank you so much for sticking around in this recap episode. We got through, the end of year 2 here as the Kansas City Chiefs took down the Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowl 60. Also, we see some head coaches here. Shane Steichen now an offensive coordinator in Green Bay. The Rams get Dave Canales as their offensive coordinator. Sean McVay hired as the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. Maybe he'll get a head coaching gig by next season. But as always, everybody, it's been real, and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.